Hello to another episode of Heart and Soul. And today we're going to share about the moon, about the cycle of the moon and how it influences us and how we can go with the cycle of the moon rather than against. And I always love to have the chats with gorgeous Janet. Janet, how are you today?
I am absolutely fine, Caroline. And I love the moon as well. I mean, I go back to when I was a child and I can remember looking out the window. In fact, my two older brothers actually picked me up to see out the window, and it was the moon. And I remember my eldest brother saying about this man on the moon. And it was when they landed on the moon and they were telling me that. And I wasn't even 3 years old, and I can remember that. The stories, but even so, like throughout my life, I love a night sky with the stars and a lovely big shiny moon. It draws me in.
Absolutely. The moon is always amazing. And I always love sometimes during the day, you see the moon, it's gorgeous and it's precious. And I mean, we connect to the female energy with the moon. And the fun fact is that in German, it's der Mond. So it's masculine and the sun is die Sonne, which is feminine, but it's actually the other way around.
Yes.
Exactly like in French and Italian, la lune, la luna. It's everywhere. So we are connecting, of course, to the magical, wonderful feminine energy when we connect with the moon. And I think I love that gentleness, that amazing energy. And I often bathe in the light of the moon, because it has that really gentle, loving, nurturing energy. And of course, I connect with Archangel Haniel, which I feel is connected with the moon. What's your favorite moon ritual, Janet, if you have one?
I'm not sure I have one exactly, but usually sort of on a new moon, setting intentions. It's like planting the seeds, and doing that. It feels important to me. If there's something that I want to manifest into my life, it's a very good time to do that. I often as well, as you said, bathing in the moonlight. If there is that sort of bright full moon. In fact, we've had actually a couple of super moons at them coming up, or one, I think we've just had one, or there's another one coming up. And when they're really intense, because they're so close to the earth, it's amazing. And you really do feel that connection. And I think you're right, it's often sort of like women feel that connection with the moon, that feminine energy. And it just draws you in and makes me think of dreams, imagination, creativity, all of those sort of side of things, which are very important to me as a creative. So yeah, my intentions probably would be the big thing with the new moon.
Definitely. Setting new seeds, you're planting new seeds, setting intentions, allowing new dreams to come. And of course, at the full moon, you can recharge your crystals in the light of the moon or anything, you can cleanse your home or imagine like the moon is clearing your whole home space. And the moon is moving oceans,
Yes.
with the ebb and flow. And our bodies are 75% of water. So it's only natural that we feel it too. And sometimes it's also, you can have the cycle of the moon. So you have the new moon and then half moon and full moon. And then when it decreases, half moon and new moon again. And it can go with the cycle, the female cycle, sort of like where the new moon is the period. And then the full moon is ovulation time. And then it goes around and it has 28 days. And usually female cycle is around that. Mine was much longer, thankfully. So, but it can go along those lines. And it also says that, of course, then during the new moon, it's more like a restful period.
Yes.
And then you can get sort of right in the energy, you know, you love to create new things. It's also a good time to start creating new things and then sort of wrap it up around the full moon and then releasing all stuff. And then, of course, the last time just before the new moon, I usually do some waxing, hair removal, you know, all the things you don't want to have grow. And also in nature, you can, if you plant bushes more in the growing phase, they grow high. And if you plant them in the decreasing phase, they grow wide. So it's also, you can go along. And of course, I'm not an expert, but it's just some common knowledge I love to share with you. And yeah, I hand it over to you, Janet, before I explain even more here. Did you know about them? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know in the farming community, because I grew up in the countryside in Northern Ireland, in the farming community. And often, I mean, there was a lot of wives' tales and different things, but they were actually quite attuned to doing things like seasonal and following certain cycles like the moon cycle. And there's a farmer's almanac that you can buy, and it tells all sort of the moon cycles and recommendations of what to do in those periods. So I absolutely understand that it does have such an influence on our lives, because you sort of think is, you know, farmers, and you think, oh, they're just planting, they just, no, there is cycles for all of these things. And the moon definitely plays a major role in that. So I always thought that was really quite interesting.
It is. And we can dig deeper. I mean, yeah, we can read the books and learn more about that. And I think it's so helpful. It's really amazing to go with the flow, with the cycle of the moon rather than against it. You know, I think when we sort of start something new with the new moon and then the growing moon, it's just easier. We are more in the flow than when you start something just before the new moon, and it takes just more energy. It's just the little things that count, to be more in the flow and go with the cycles, like you said. So there are other things about those moons, you know. The new moon is sort of the wise woman type. It's the earth energy. And of course, it's like winter. So that means, yeah, around the new moon, we can go more inwards. Especially introverts, we feel it deeply. Go more inwards, be quiet, and maybe allow not to be out there, not to do too much, and connect to the earth energy and the wise woman within you. And then as the moon grows and it comes to the quarter moon growing, there it's that spring energy, that maiden energy, that airy energy. And sometimes we can overtire because we feel such in a rush. We are so excited, we do so much. And there we have to still connect into earth and ground that energy a little more. As we come to the full moon, then of course we're in mother energy, in summer energy, and it's fire. So we can tire again, we can burn out. And of course, sometimes we overgive as the nurturing mother energy. And as we go then towards the new moon again, as it's closing, there it's the water energy, it's autumn, it's the wild woman. It's sort of that PMS stage in our cycles. And when we know that, we can adjust a little bit more. We might feel, oh, we're full of energy. And that's why, and grow, especially I think in business, it's really good to go with the moon. In general, in life, it's good. I mean, yeah, we can have big dreams around the new moon or the full moon. It can be intense, or we can have sleepless nights. So I invite you, gorgeous listeners or watchers of the video, to just take a note when there's new moon and when there's a full moon, and just explore with it and see, oh, okay, in 2 days I have a full moon, so maybe that's why I feel so intense. Or people are very aggressive usually around the full moon, they feel it, and just give the people a break and say, okay, it's full moon, so be extra careful when you're driving. So, but let it go. Don't let it affect you, others' behavior and things like these. Do you have any more tips, Janet?
I mean, everything you're saying, absolutely. The full moon madness, isn't it? Isn't that what they say? Because they used to sort of say back in the day with in sort of when they had, back in Victorian times, when they had like the asylums, they used to say on a full moon it used to go like crazy people went crazy. So maybe you're right, they still happens today. So it's an absolutely interesting thing to think of. And in the moon as well, we also think of the intuitive side of things, of reconnecting with, you know, our own intuition, and very much those periods of new moon and full moon really help us to reconnect with that inner voice, that inner wisdom that we have. And I invite people as well to also delve into that side of things during the moon cycle. I mean, have you anything else that you want to bring up?
No, I think I connect intuition very much with the wise woman when we go inwards during the new moon phase. But I just love for people to explore it and just be aware when a new moon is coming up, and then maybe just around the new moon, just set an intention or write down 3 wishes, or however you love to play with this, or just take a minute to just go deep and say, what's my wish, and send it out to the universe or to the moon. And during the full moon, just be aware that there is the full moon, and yeah, go with the flow and allow the seasons and the cycle of the moon play with you. I think play is a word here.
Funny, I just pulled out a card before we did this, an energy card, and just you brought up, it is sort of make a wish upon a star, wish upon a star, just as you're saying there, making wishes. So absolutely, that intention, that sort of making a wish at the new moon cycle, and breathing, you know, that energy into that. So it's quite magical.
It is absolutely magical. Yeah, like you observe the moon in childlike wonder. I feel that's also sort of, you know, when you go out and see the moon and the stars, and remember, we are not alone. We are always guided and supported.
Exactly.
And next week, we're gonna share about
the sun.
Yeah, moon and sun, sun and moon. So stay tuned for next week's episode of the sun, and enjoy this episode on the moon. If you have any questions or want some clarity, leave a comment and we always come back to you, or contact us on our websites.
Lovely. Namaste.
Thank you.